Welcome back to another episode of Catching Up, where we catch up with some of your favorite former past athletes. Today we're shifting gears a little bit.
Yes, sir.
We've been talking with a lot of Oilers from your past, but today we're going back to college.
Yes.
Who do we have with us?
We have George Coghill, two-time All-American in baseball and football. Played for the Denver Broncos, got 2 Super Bowl rings. One of my best friends, George Coghill.
George, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's good to be here, man. I followed a couple episodes. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
So tell us, what are you up to now? We talked about what you've done in the past. So where are you now?
I'm back in my hometown in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I'm currently the head coach of the varsity football team here at Jamesboro High School, the same high school I went to in the same city I grew up in.
So tell me this. I was curious about this. I saw that you were back in your high school, and your son played high school football. Was he at the same school that you're at?
No, he went to Mountain View High School, which is about 20 minutes away. It's kind of a long story, but I moved to Florida for a couple of years. And when I came back, I took a job with Mountain View High School, and I coached over there for 6 years.
Okay.
And during those 6 years, he had his run through that high school. But I also have my stepson. He played here and did well.
Okay.
See, so that's what I was thinking about. Because I saw that you were there, and he went to a different school, and I was curious whether or not you had to coach against him. Because it started me thinking, you have a lot of father-son things where they're together or they either play together or something, and I was like, I hope you didn't have to coach against them.
Dads must really not like their sons if they're coaching against them. No, I'm just kidding.
Definitely.
It was a good process. Good run.
Nice.
We'll go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, George, like you said, when you're coaching now and whatnot, state champions. You got any accolades like that down on your belt so far, or what?
From
coaching
my
football.
current team, do I have any all-state players? State champions? Nah. Actually, we've struggled, man. I took over in 2019, right before COVID hit. And and we're the last state championship team in this area, but that was 2009.
Okay.
But we're building something. Again, we struggled out the gates with the COVID season. It was pushed to spring. We only played, I think, 6 games. And then the following year, I ended up being like 500. We lost in the second round of the playoffs, but then the last 2 seasons have been pretty rough, only a couple wins each. But I'm looking forward to this year. This is probably the most exciting I've been about a team since I took over as head coach.
Well, that's good. Congratulations. Any prospects probably going to go to Wake Forest or anything like that? Anything like that?
That would be great. But we got a couple young ones. And,
Okay.
And I'm really excited. My grandson will be a rising freshman here next year.
Okay.
That's my stepson's son, and he's going to be a ball player. He's always getting some interest. Actually, he would have started for me last year as an 8th grader, but you can't play varsity as an 8th grader. But I'm looking forward to coaching him and see how he develops over the years, should I say. And we got a couple more younger guys, sophomore, juniors. We're predominantly a junior class, which is great. We've been young. Last year, we were forced to play a lot of kids that probably shouldn't have been on the varsity field, but they got a chance to start because of our lack of numbers and our ability to fill a complete team. So It's going to pay off. We took out bumps and bruises, but this year, we plan on distributing something.
Okay. Congratulations.
So, George, this is cool for us because most of the guys that we've been talking to have been all former Oilers. Go figure. And so it's neat to be able to branch out a bit with that. You spent, I guess, Millsy was saying that you came up with the Saints originally, but spent most of your time with the Broncos. And so then with that, who was the most fun to be around and why?
Professionally? Oh, man.
I almost want to hear both. I want to hear both.
You want to hear both?
Yeah.
Let's start with the college one, just because, it was like a brand new day when I got to Wake Forest, and I hear this guy bumping all this bounce music. I had no idea what was going on, man.
I know where he's going.
Come to find out it was John Henry Mills living around the corner from me in the dorm all day long, full speed, having fun. I had to get used to the Florida guys, man. They're a different group of guys, man. So it took me a while, but after all, like I said, one of my best friends in my wedding, we had a great time, man. But yeah, John, he was by far the funniest guy that I was around when I was in college. A lot of pranks. He would come and support me on the baseball field sometimes.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he'll make it pretty obvious. I was the only black player there. He would come and stand. Hey, which one's George? You know, and all the guys knew. It was a small school, so everybody knows everybody, especially the athletes. So everybody knew when John Henry came in with a straw hat on. His buddy Larry Jordan sometimes, but yeah, it was awesome. But John Henry by far the funniest guy there. He skipped a step though. I was in Scotland for 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
That's right.
That's true.
Yes, I did skip that.
Hall of Fame.
I didn't get that. Yeah, I didn't get that path that John Henry Mills went drafted. Boom. So I had to
work for it a little bit.
Yeah. So and I had a couple of good guys. You probably know one of them, James Williams. I think he's in the Houston area now. I think he's coaching somewhere. But
yeah, he's coaching with Eddie George. He's coaching with Eddie Robinson. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, he is?
Yeah,
Okay,
he sure is. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then professionally, everybody sees this guy now, but I saw him when he was back in Denver. Shannon Sharp, by far the funniest dude ever been around, man. He'll make a joke about everything, but when it was time to play, he played. You know, practice, he wouldn't drink water during practice and stuff like that. It was just crazy to watch him, the way he processed things, the way he developed. But then off the field, in the locker room, I don't know. Don't wear anything that's kind of off the wall because he's going to crack them. On the plane trips, on the away trips, you come in with a suit, you think you're looking clean. I'm fresh off out of Scotland. I got my best suit on, man. And we didn't get out of the locker room. He's already cracking on my on my suit. So I sent that home quickly after that trip.
That's awesome.
But yeah, John Henry Mills in college and Shannon Sharp professional.
So with that, with football, and we talk about all the different things, what are obviously the most favorite memory that you have about playing the NFL? Outside of, winning the Super Bowl, obviously, twice.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they say, man, that was more important than winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, because, and I haven't told the story. Only a couple people actually know, but when I guess the 96 year, 95 year, 6 year, I'm sorry. My mother had developed cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And, it had gotten to a point where she was going to be in hospice. And I was overseas playing in Scotland at the time. And so they flew me back home. This was 97. I think it was late May. And I came home and I talked to her. And, she's like, hey, you got a future, you want to do this football thing. So basically, she made me leave. So I ended up getting on the plane and go over there and play one more game. She passed away. But before that, let's go back to my first preseason game in Denver. Now, a lot of guys didn't know I was grieving through that whole process because I signed with Denver probably, I want to say, less than a month after she passed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been kind of to myself and a quiet guy. But I was grieving. A lot of people didn't know why.
Mm-hmm.
But that very first preseason game, you come in the locker room, I'm a free agent. And so you see all the, the vets and stuff, lockers are all on the side. And then in the middle, you have a group of just basically your free agent guys, your camp bodies, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But to go in and see my number, with my name on the back
mm-hmm.
of it. I just put my hands in my jersey and started crying because while I was home that one time, the last time I saw my mother, I said, look, I promise you, I don't know how, but you're going to see me play in the NFL.
Mm.
And so for me to say that, I'm 27 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Third year in the World League, haven't got many bites to get back in the NFL. But then for me to promise her that, I worked my butt off in that month between that and the NFL. And for me to see my jersey and have my name on it,
mm-hmm.
and for me to accomplish my goal, that was my goal, to be there. I didn't say make the team, but I'm going to be in the NFL. She's going to see me play. So that game right there, that preseason game, man, meant more to me than any game I've ever played in. because one, I made it, but two, I kept my promise to my mom, and that promise was you're going to see your son play in the NFL.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I can't imagine. We always ask that question, like, what was your sort of aha moment when you first walked in the locker room? And obviously for you, that was that moment. Like you said, where you saw your jersey sitting there amongst the names like Elway and Terrell Davis and Shannon Sharp. It's I can only imagine how you must have felt, given everything that you went through then.
So moving through that process. Don't mean to cut you off, George. Moving through that process, and we all have our favorite cities. What was one of your more favorite cities that you've ever played in when you played in outside of overseas?
Favorite cities. I love San Diego.
Okay.
Just because the weather was, I don't care. When we played them, it was nice. We was out there for the Super Bowl that one week. It was just picture perfect weather. The Bronco fans traveled well when we played out there. And it was just things to do, when the Super Bowl week, your family's out there, there's all kinds of things you can be involved with. I just liked the vibe they had out there and the water. But yeah, that was probably the coolest city I played in, outside of Denver. I love Denver. But outside of Denver, I would say San Diego.
Gotcha.
So we sort of alluded to it a little earlier, but if you weren't playing football, what other sport would you possibly play professionally?
Hopefully we've been baseball. and honestly, baseball was my favorite sport growing up. Even when I went to college, that was my favorite sport. I got my breaks, in football and things like that, but baseball was by far the most joy I had playing the sport. And I know the Deeks are doing well this year. I know we lost a couple to Duke on this past weekend, but I get to see those guys this weekend when they play here at Virginia Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But yeah, baseball, it was just so relaxed. I grew up playing it. A lot of guys didn't play baseball, so it was tough finding a pickup game. But me and my brother, we always found some guys to play with. And I think I was pretty natural at it because, those guys there, it's year-round baseball. But I would only be in there from January until late May, and then everything else was strictly football. And even with that being said, when we had spring practices, I had to go to spring practice for football, and then I would go to baseball afterwards, if we didn't have a baseball game.
So what position did you play?
In baseball, center field.
Okay.
Play center, a little bit of left. I was an outfielder guy. I couldn't feel that ground ball good enough to play at that level.
I tell you what, a lot of people don't know this, but George still has the triple jump record at Wake Forest.
So track two.
Yeah, track two. Yeah, he's a multi athlete at Wake Forest. Just to let everybody know that if you didn't know. And to add,
he had the indoor record for a little bit.
Just for a little bit. Just for a little bit. I had it for a little bit. But he came and broke the record by far. But anyway, that's another story.
I remember now. I said this because I jumped my freshman year, and I was basically I should have been redshirt in baseball, but I wasn't. I only had about a couple dozen at bats. Pinch running, pinch hitting every once in a while, but I asked the coach if I could do the triple jump for the track team because I saw the record in the equipment office, and I asked our equipment manager, a guy named Sarge. Yes. Everybody knows Sarge if you went to Wake Forest. And I said, "Hey, is that triple jump record accurate?" And he okay, why do you care? Obviously, look, I said if that's the record, I can go out there and do that right now. It was like 47, I think. Yeah. And so word got back to the track coach, and I guess he called me, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He said, "Hey, I just heard that you did some triple jumping while you was in high school. Would you mind doing it for us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I would." I said, "But I gotta get cleared through the baseball coach." So I talked to the baseball coaches about doing it. And keep in mind, I last jumped in the state championship was in, I want to say May. And I hadn't done anything track-wise. I went through all this football and put on about 15 pounds. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I went out the day before the ACC track meet, which happened to be in Virginia. And I just kind of got my steps down, how far I needed to run to get to the board and stuff like that. And I ended up going through it and ended up breaking the school record. And I placed fifth or sixth, I think fifth in that outdoor meet.
Mm-hmm.
Then John Henry was doing it because he didn't do spring baseball or anything like that. So he had the indoor record.
Yes, I did.
I still remember I said, John, I'm gonna get that one before I leave here. He's like, no, man, let me have that one. We was at the All ACC banquet in the University of Maryland. I don't know if you remember, it was in Maryland.
Uh-huh.
I talked to the track coach about doing it in the indoors. It was in what do you call it? It was in East Tennessee State.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, all right, we can do it. And they arranged for me to fly a flight down from the AC. I said, well, I'm not going to miss the banquet. So I went to the banquet. So the night before, I'm running down the hallways, getting my steps together, and then flew out the next morning and went there and scratched. I never scratched in my life. Scratched the first 2 jumps. So if I scratch again, I'm done. And it was a little bit of hating going on by some of the track guys because they didn't think it was right that I got flown down. But on the 3rd jump, I ended up qualifying for the finals and breaking the record in the process and placed 6th in that event.
Yes.
So that was my triple jump.
Yes.
Sorry, John.
It's all right. I'm over it by now. I'm definitely over it by now. I'm actually coaching and teaching that right now for jumpers at high school right now. Yes, I am. So I changed over the track this year. Moving right along, George, I was just thinking to myself, can you tell us one of your most inspirational person that has basically when you got in the league and took you on your wing, like, and took care of you? Who would that be?
Steve Atwater.
Okay.
Probably one of the nicest human beings you ever meet in your life. I remember going to Wake my first time when I was going to training camp and stepping in the elevator, and he's in there. It was like 4 or 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, I'm like, man, I just kind of look up because he's a big guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, safeties were a lot bigger than they are today.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him standing his hand and said, hey, I'm Steve Atwood. I'm like, oh, man. I said, I appreciate that. You don't have to introduce yourself. I know who you are. It's just good. He just talked about keep working and things like that. And, training camp, if you're not part of that first or second group and maybe a third group, then you're not getting many reps when it comes to, practice times during camp. And I remember him coming over there talking to me because I went through the first 2 days. I didn't get not one single rep on team offense, whatever you name it. I didn't get not one rep. And he came over there and I remember him talking to me. He said, hey, man, just keep your head in the books, keep learning all this stuff, keep working. He said, it'll happen for you. And so that meant a lot to me because, one, he had to say that. Basically, I'm a camp body. Mm-hmm. I remember when I signed, I was like the 9th safety on the roster. And so I was like, all right, so I studied my butt off, and that's something I could hang my hat on, that I knew what I was doing when I got out there at either free or strong safety. But, yeah, Steve was the one who kind of showed me how to do it, the way he practiced, the way he prepared, the way he, kept his body up, and the way he treated others. And anybody you meet that's met Steve Atwood is going to tell you he's an awesome dude. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that was the guy that I aspired to be, and that, just a family man and a football person, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, George, question for you. You were with the Broncos for both Super Bowls. Got to play more in the second one, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't play in the first one. I was still on the practice squad. I was carrying the cables back then when that was
so what was it like then, especially probably that second year when you were able to really get in? I can only imagine what must have been going through your mind, or the feeling of playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was. As crazy as it may seem, when you're a practice squad, you're a part of the team. Yeah, your name might not be on the roster and things like that. But for me, that first one was more special just because you saw the Atwaters, the Elways, the Terrell Davis, the Shannon Sharp, those guys. Terrell was still a young kid, but all those guys have been plugging at it for so long, and the joy and the feeling in their eyes, oh my God, it was crazy. I think had more pride about that one because I was a part of that group.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the following year when we got to do it, it was kind of like I would say anticlimactic because we were expected. We had a heck of a team. We lost maybe one or two players off of that '97, well, the '97 Super Bowl team, so we knew we were going to be stacked. For me, it was just make the roster and get on the and get on the field, and I did. I didn't dress out the first 4 or 5 games of the season, but after that, I got in to play, and I remember the coach telling me the reason why is you can back up both positions. You can play, strong. You can play free. I even play a little bit of dime and nickel. So the fact that I was available to do all those things, and I caught punts, and was a special teams guy, which led to the Super Bowl. But yeah, once the pregame is phenomenal. It's just holy cow. It's like who is who. People kind of point out there's Kobe Bryant over there. There's Johnny Cochran right there. There's so many people there.
Nice.
But after the first kickoff, I swear it's like you're in time, and you see the movies where you see all the lights and the flashing and yelling stuff like that. But when the play starts, everything goes quiet. It's like that. I'm running down the field. You can't hear a word other than you breathing and the lights going off and things like that. But after that, man, it was all football. And the help that I made the first tackle that game.
Yes, you did.
First and last, in case you
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I do remember.
Does that get the butterflies out?
I'm sorry?
Does that get the butterflies out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They get them out.
Hey, George, we're going to move on to our segment where we do word association, where we'll throw a name out at you. You give us one word describing that person.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. First one you just talked about, Steve Atwater.
Professional.
Good.
How about John Elway?
Legend.
Good one. Terrell Davis.
Dog.
Okay.
DAWG.
Yeah. All right, how about Bill Romanowski?
Yeah.
Insane.
I've had some interaction with him also.
In a good way. You play with him.
Yes, I did. I played with him. Yeah, at that Pro Bowl. He's a
the calmest demeanor off the field, the way he talks, everything is low. But something happens for that 60 minutes. You love him on your team. You hate him if you're playing against him, though.
That is true. Go ahead.
No.
Ed McCaffrey.
Worker.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I can see that.
He was one of the hardest workers. And I know some may have told some stories about being light and stuff like that. Oh my God, he works his ball. Every route is full speed. I don't care what's going on, it's full speed. He cuts out the lining of nothing extra is on his body. He wears his cleats too small, and he cuts a hole so his big toe can kind of go through it. I don't know if it's something about him feeling light, but he's like when you just put your thigh pads back in the day.
Right.
He used to cut all that lining out, everything. So when you see pictures of him, everything, the shoulder pads are teeny, the jersey's tucked. He cut the inside part of the jersey out. But he's a worker.
Wow.
All right, how about Shannon Sharp?
Hilarious.
Okay. Good.
So,
George, that's going to do it for catching up this week. We really appreciate you joining us.
Definitely appreciate it, man. I mean, it's good to hear your voice also, too. Keep sending the reels. You know what I'm talking about on Instagram. It keeps me laughing.
I only send a couple, man.
Okay.
I'm letting you off the hook,
man. At least three every morning. At least 3. But they're hilarious. We send them back and forth, so that's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
But go ahead. We appreciate you, man, catching up with us and everything. And I can't wait to post this one on Monday. We're excited. Just thanks for being with us, man.
Oh man, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
So that's going to do it this week on Catching Up. We'll catch you next time.